guys, good afternoon. What a crowd. Who wants to hear about Metaverse today? Me either. I'm so tired of hearing this word. Last year it was one of the most Googled words in dictionaries. It showed up. Everybody was talking about it. Then Mark Zuckerberg came along and changed his company name, and now it's all anybody talks about. And then I started a company about it, and here I am talking to all of you. I'm going to tell you today why Metaverse might be a word we're all laughing about in a year or two, but what Metaverse is, what it really is inevitable and undeniable, and I'm going to explain why. First of all, if you've ever seen the movie Ready Player One, it probably got you all excited about what the Metaverse could be, especially if you're a guy, because you're all about shooting things and blowing things up, and in your mind, the Metaverse is going to be a place you're going to go blow everything up. The good news is women generally don't enjoy doing that quite as much, so I suspect the Metaverse of the future is going to be a lot more tranquil and sophisticated than the one we saw in Ready Player One. I also believe that the Metaverse is not going to happen in VR. And that's a pretty controversial viewpoint because so much money is being spent on technologies that are predicated upon VR and Metaverse being virtually one and the same. But the fact is, I don't think that's the case. How many of you here even have a VR headset? Okay, and this is a tech conference. There's like 10 people in this big crowd. So I know what you guys do on weekends, but the rest of you who don't have a VR headset, you're who we're marketing the Metaverse to. Because in order to gain mainstream adoption, you have to actually feed it into the hardware that people own. People own mobile phones, laptops, and consoles, and that's where the Metaverse is going to happen, despite what Ready Player One may have led you to believe. Now, who's the Metaverse for? A bunch of you are probably like, ugh, Metaverse, I keep hearing about it, it's not real. It's because you're old. The Metaverse is for young people. It's for these people. It's for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's for a generation of kids who grew up in a pandemic, who spend tons of time on video games. That is how they spend their leisure time. That's how they hang out with their friends. And let me break it to you. They don't read books. They don't read newspapers. They don't even watch TV. The Metaverse generation is addicted to video games, and that's how they interact with technology. And for them, Instagram and Facebook are where old people spend their leisure time. Video games are where their social network is. That's who the Metaverse is for. So then some of you who are probably a bit deeper into the space decided to Google Metaverse. And that's kind of where the problems really start, because then you find yourself down a rabbit hole that inevitably lands you on Decentraland, which is what a lot of people think is the Metaverse. So like the Metaverse is either Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse or Decentraland. And the fact is those are metaverses, but not the Metaverse. Decentraland's important because it demonstrated that when you add crypto to this idea of a user-generated content world, people will invest millions of dollars into that space. So by giving them the option of having the ability to move money in and out, all of a sudden people were willing to put in much more money than they ever had before. However, they spent a lot of money on the land, but there's no actual people there. And that's because when you get there, there's nothing to do, which is one of the fundamental misconceptions about the Metaverse. The Metaverse is all about user-generated content, but what kind of content? A lot of people, including us, build buildings in the Metaverse, but that's not what people are coming to the Metaverse for. The Metaverse is about video games. I get contacted all the time by people at half the companies that I see logos for in this room. The CEO will have told the CMO or the CTO, hey, you got to figure out Metaverse because Budweiser did it and everybody else did it and we're behind. We didn't do it yet. Do it. Go do Metaverse. And then they call me. And they're like, my boss said I have to do a Metaverse. And I say, okay, let's do it. It's all about video games. And they're like, oh no, we don't like video games. We don't want to do video games. We want to do Metaverse. And that's when I have to break it to them. The Metaverse is all about video games. The only reason people go to the Metaverse is to play video games. And how do I know I'm right? Because the only Metaverses that have hundreds of millions of users are Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox, which are all about addictive video game mechanics. So if you want to build Metaverse, you've got to embrace video gaming. And that's hard for a lot of you to do because your concept of video games involves what I said before, shooting people. Not every brand wants to be associated with death and violence. There are lots of different kinds of video games. There are match 3 like Candy Crush. There are a lot of reasons why people spend time in video game and social environments. And the metaverse is all about taking those strategies and putting them in a space that's social and synchronous. Because if you want to find the metaverse generation, if you want to advertise to them, if you want your brand to be front and center where they spend their time, you've got to embrace video gaming and put it in the social video gaming environments where they spend time. More importantly, the metaverse is basically a blank canvas for user-generated content. So what we saw in the last evolution of video gaming is that people actually really like to be creative. They like to build things. And they'll even like to build things so much that they decide to turn it into a business. So you have this entire ecosystem of freelancers that build really compelling content in video games. And that's core to the metaverse experience. But what it is not is a series of digital twins. Buildings that look exactly like other buildings in the real world, because guess what? That's boring. That's not a video game. You can have buildings in your video game. Grand Theft Auto has plenty of buildings, but people aren't going there for the buildings. They're going to steal cars and run around and shoot people. So you have to remember, what is it that's going to get people there? What's going to keep them there? And then what can that mean for you if you're trying to build a metaverse product? This is an example of a project that we recently invested in, and I'll spend a little bit of time of telling you more about what we do at Everyrealm. But Hometopia is a platform that allows people to design and build homes in the metaverse. It's basically like Pinterest or Houzz if they were in 3D. And they're designed specifically for that generation of people that I've been talking about, who as they enter into adulthood are going to want to do a lot of the same things they've been doing in video game environments for kids. In Roblox, there's a game called Brookhaven, there's a game called Bloxburg. They're among the most popular games in Roblox. And do you know what they are? Home design. Kids are designing homes in Roblox and spending hours and hours doing it. And it's not about shooting people, but it is gamified. It is a game, and it's really, really cool. And we've invested in our incubating a company that does that very same thing, but with a more photoreal visual style for adults. So more importantly, a lot of you are probably marketers or think like marketers, so you have to think about, how do you deploy something in the metaverse? How do you market it? How do you go to market? You need to remember that the celebrities of the metaverse, the celebrities for the metaverse generation, are different than the celebrities that you're familiar with. Because for them, gamers, streamers, and YouTubers are their celebrities. And the sports of the metaverse is esports. For them, playing video games competitively is just as much of a sport as playing basketball or soccer. And I know that's hard for you to wrap your mind around, but it's the truth. If you talk to any young person who watches esports on YouTube or has been to a tournament in a stadium, it's very real to them. The moment when their favorite player wins or captures the demon in League of Legends, the crowd goes wild, just like they do when somebody makes a three-pointer in basketball. So gamers are the heroes of the metaverse, which creates a whole new realm of influencers that probably a lot of you haven't even thought of as people that you need to be talking to understand where this industry is headed. I think the one thing I want to leave you with today is to remember that whatever cynicism or skepticism you might have about the metaverse, remember that it's really early. The metaverse is just getting started. So we have legacy worlds, some of which I've mentioned today, that are not built on the blockchain. Fortnite, Minecraft, Second Life. You have metaverses that are live today, things like Decentraland, CryptoVoxels, The Sandbox. But then you have an entire wave of new metaverses that are coming soon, some of which have been being built in stealth for years with mega budgets that are being built by AAA gaming studios, and that's when it's going to really start to get interesting. Because that's when that Ready Player One version of the metaverse, maybe minus a little bit of the violence, is going to start coming to market. And all of your ideas about what you might do when geographic distance didn't pose such a problem to make connections will actually start happening. That's when it starts getting good. My company, Everyrealm, is an investor and incubator in metaverse technology. We've invested in over 30 different companies. We're incubating 5 of our own. We build metaverse technology that brings communities to the metaverse. Because the metaverse is going to be awfully boring if there are no people there and nothing to do when you actually go. Thank you for your time.